Chapter 1, The Unseen Strength. Captain Amelia Novak stood on the bridge of the Excalibur, the cold steel walls around her reflecting the dim lights of the control panels. She stared at the massive holographic display, her eyes fixed on the approaching Zorvian fleet. It was a staggering sight, thousands of alien ships arranged in perfect formation, each one more imposing than the last. The Excalibur was but a single human warship, dwarfed by the might of the Zorvian Empire, yet it was humanity's beacon, its last line of defense. "We're entering their sensor range," the ship's communications officer, Lieutenant Kira Tanaka, announced, her voice steady. She didn't flinch as the blips on the radar shifted, denoting the incoming alien ships. Amelia's hands curled into fists at her sides. She didn't feel fear, not anymore. It had been years since she'd lost that emotion to the endless battles fought across the stars. Now, she felt something else, anticipation, mixed with a quiet, unshakable resolve. The Excalibur was the pride of Earth, and she wasn't about to let anyone forget that. "Alert all stations," Amelia said, her voice cutting through the hum of the bridge. "Activate stealth mode. No one moves unless I say so." "Understood," Kira replied, tapping commands into her console. The Excalibur shimmered briefly, becoming almost invisible in the vastness of space. It was a cloak of technology humanity had perfected, a marvel the Zorvian Empire had yet to encounter. "Stealth mode engaged, Captain," Kira confirmed. Amelia nodded, though her mind was elsewhere. The Excalibur was their only hope. The Zorvian Empire had been observing Earth for years, mocking humanity's advancements. To them, humans were nothing more than a speck of dust in the grand cosmic scheme. They were wrong. And Amelia Novak was going to make sure they knew it. "We'll hold position here," she said, her voice cold and commanding. "Let's see how confident the Zorvians really are." It wasn't long before the Zorvian flagship's signal flashed across the screen. The ship was enormous, its black hull dotted with sharp, jagged edges, as though it was designed for nothing but war. General Vale Kor, the Zorvian Supreme Commander, had long been a thorn in humanity's side, sending endless probes to Earth, always dismissing humans as weak. "This is General Vale Kor," the voice crackled through the speakers, harsh and condescending. "We have been watching you, Captain Novak. Your reputation precedes you. However, your ship is nothing compared to the might of the Zorvian Empire. You will surrender, and Earth will fall under our dominion. Do not resist." Amelia's eyes narrowed. She knew this moment would come. The arrogance of the Zorvians had been their undoing from the very start. She leaned forward, her eyes never leaving the display as she spoke. "General Kor, you misunderstand us. We're not here to negotiate. We're here to show you that Earth will never be your conquest." There was a long pause on the other end, and then the mocking laughter of the Zorvian general echoed through the comm system. "You think you can stop us with your primitive technology?" Vale Kor's voice was dripping with amusement. "I've seen entire fleets crumble beneath our might. You are no different." Amelia didn't flinch. "We'll see." The tension on the bridge thickened as Vale Kor's fleet began to close in, their ships moving with terrifying precision. For all their size and strength, they were unaware of the true weapon they were facing. The Excalibur wasn't just any warship, it was the culmination of centuries of human innovation, a ship capable of feats even the most advanced alien civilizations couldn't fathom. "Targeting systems are locked," Lieutenant Tanaka reported, her fingers dancing across the control panel. Amelia's jaw tightened. "Not yet. We wait for the perfect moment." The seconds dragged on, the only sound the soft beeping of consoles and the deep hum of the ship's engines. Amelia kept her gaze on the display, her mind calculating, her every sense alert. She could feel the weight of history bearing down on her, the responsibility of ensuring humanity's survival. It was all in her hands. "Captain," Kira said, her voice now tinged with urgency. "The Zorvians are initiating weapons lock. They're preparing to fire." "Activate all defensive systems," Amelia ordered without hesitation. "Weapons free." In an instant, the Excalibur sprang to life. The ship's cannons, hidden beneath its sleek exterior, emerged with a roar, their brilliant blue energy beams lighting up the darkness of space. But this wasn't just a show of force. It was a message that would be etched into the memories of the Zorvians forever. The first blast from the Excalibur hit the Zorvian flagship's shields, sending a shockwave through space. The Zorvian ship shook, its advanced defense systems barely able to withstand the force of the human weapon. The Zorvian fleet faltered for a moment, confusion rippling through their ranks. "Fire again," Amelia commanded, her voice unwavering. Another barrage of energy blasts struck the Zorvian ships, this time hitting their engines. Several ships exploded into brilliant fireballs, their remains drifting into the void. The remaining Zorvian ships attempted to regroup, but it was already too late. "Captain, they're retreating," Kira exclaimed, astonished by the sight of the once proud fleet scattering into disarray. Amelia stood tall, her eyes narrowing as she observed the chaos unfolding before her. "Let them run," she said quietly. "We've made our point." As the last of the Zorvian ships disappeared into the dark void, the Excalibur hovered, its engines slowly winding down. Amelia's heart still raced, but the thrill of victory was short-lived. She knew that this was only the beginning. The Zorvians wouldn't forget this humiliation. They would return. But humanity had just shown them that it was not to be underestimated. "Prepare for the next phase," Amelia said, her voice calm but steely. "We've only just begun." The crew of the Excalibur remained silent, but in their eyes, there was no mistaking the fire of defiance. They had delivered the first blow. And now, they were ready for whatever came next. In the cold vastness of space, a new chapter in humanity's history had begun. The Zorvian Empire had learned that underestimating Earth's might came at a cost that would ripple through the galaxy for years to come. Chapter 2, The First Strike. The silence on the bridge of the Excalibur was palpable, broken only by the soft hum of the ship's systems. Captain Amelia Novak stood motionless, her gaze fixed on the debris of the Zorvian fleet that still floated in space. The remnants of their once proud ships were scattered across the vast void, their twisted wreckage a grim reminder of the power they had just witnessed. "Captain, we've completed a full scan of the area," Lieutenant Tanaka said, her voice steady but carrying an undercurrent of disbelief. "The Zorvian ships have been disabled. Their engines are down, their shields are failing. They're no longer a threat." Amelia nodded, her eyes never leaving the view in front of her. She could feel the tension in the air, the weight of the moment settling over her like a heavy cloak. The Excalibur had unleashed its power, but the battle wasn't over. Not by a long shot. "Do we have any remaining Zorvian ships in range?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. "Not yet, Captain," Tanaka replied. "But their fleet is trying to regroup. I'm detecting several ships heading toward the nearest jump point. They're making a retreat." "Let them run," Amelia said quietly, her voice cold. "Let them think they can escape. We'll make sure they never forget who they're dealing with." On the Zorvian flagship, General Veilcore sat in his command chair, his face drawn tight with fury. The once proud leader of the Zorvian Empire, known for his cunning and ruthlessness, now looked like a shadow of his former self. The Excalibur had decimated his fleet with ease, leaving him humiliated and terrified. "Commander, what happened?" Veilcore demanded, his voice a mixture of anger and disbelief. "Why weren't we prepared for this?" The commander of his flagship, a tall, armored Zorvian, hesitated before answering. "General, their weaponry, it was unlike anything we've encountered. We underestimated them. Their ship, it's not just a warship. It's a weapon of mass destruction." Veilcore's eyes burned with rage. He had seen countless empires fall, but never had he faced a foe like this. "Send out all remaining ships. We will not retreat. We will crush them." The commander hesitated, his voice faltering. "But General, we have no way of knowing their true strength. They've already defeated our best forces. Should we risk it?" "You question me, Commander?" Veilcore snapped, his voice rising. "Do it. Now." Back on the Excalibur, Captain Novak stood at the command center, her eyes sharp as ever. The Zorvian fleet might have retreated, but Amelia knew it wouldn't be long before they regrouped and came back with reinforcements. She wasn't about to let them think they had the upper hand. "Prepare for a counteroffensive," she ordered, her voice unwavering. "They won't stay down for long." Kira Tanaka's fingers flew over the console. "We've got incoming, Captain. Several ships from the Zorvian fleet have changed course. They're coming back. They must have regrouped faster than we anticipated." "Increase shields to maximum," Amelia ordered. "Deploy the fighter jets. I want to show them the true strength of humanity." "Yes, Captain." The tension on the bridge intensified as the Excalibur's crew sprang into action. The warship's engines roared to life, its weapons systems glowing with an eerie blue light. Amelia's eyes narrowed, her mind focused solely on the task at hand. The Zorvian Empire had made a deadly mistake. They had underestimated Earth's capacity for war. And now, it was time to make them pay. The Zorvian ships re-entered the field of battle, their massive hulls visible even at great distance. They were determined to reclaim their lost pride, to show the humans that they were not invincible. But the Excalibur was waiting for them, a silent sentinel in the vast expanse of space. "Target them, but hold fire until they're in range," Captain Novak ordered. "We'll let them come to us." The Zorvian ships closed the distance quickly, their weapons primed and ready. But as they neared, they encountered something they hadn't expected. The Excalibur wasn't alone. "Sir, fighter jets are launching from the Excalibur," Lieutenant Tanaka reported. "They're intercepting the Zorvian ships." Hundreds of sleek human fighter jets shot out from the Excalibur, their engines blazing with intensity. They swarmed toward the oncoming Zorvian fleet like a pack of predators, each one a weapon designed to incapacitate, disable, and destroy. The Zorvian ships fired first, their energy weapons lighting up the darkness of space. But the Excalibur was already moving, weaving through the incoming fire with precision. The fighter jets engaged in a deadly dogfight, their weapons flashing in the void as they struck Zorvian ships with pinpoint accuracy. The enemy fleet faltered, unable to cope with the relentless human assault. "Fire all weapons," Amelia commanded, her voice steady and commanding. The Excalibur unleashed its full arsenal. Massive energy cannons erupted from the sides of the ship, firing powerful beams that tore through the Zorvian ships with unrelenting force. The enemy fleet, caught in the crossfire, was decimated in a matter of minutes. Explosions erupted across the battlefield, and the remnants of Zorvian ships were scattered across space. "Captain, the Zorvian fleet is in full retreat," Lieutenant Tanaka reported, her voice almost incredulous. "They're pulling back." Amelia stood still for a moment, watching the chaos unfold before her. The Zorvians had tried to regroup, but humanity had struck faster, harder, and more decisively than they could have ever imagined. "Let them go," she said quietly. "This fight is over." As the last of the Zorvian ships disappeared into the distance, Captain Novak allowed herself a moment of quiet satisfaction. The battle had been fierce, but the Excalibur had proven its worth. The message had been sent, humanity was not to be underestimated. But deep down, Amelia knew this victory was only temporary. The Zorvians would return, and when they did, they would come with more force than ever before. This was just the beginning of the war for humanity's place in the galaxy. "Prepare for the next phase," she ordered, her voice sharp once again. "We can't afford to rest." "Not yet." The crew of the Excalibur moved swiftly, each one aware of the weight of the mission ahead. The Zorvian Empire had learned a valuable lesson today: Earth would not bend. It would fight, and it would win. And they were just getting started. Chapter 3: The Price of Underestimating Humanity. The Excalibur hung in the dark void of space, its engines silent, its weapons calm. The remnants of the Zorvian fleet, shattered and broken, drifted in the distance, burning wreckage caught in the grip of space. Captain Amelia Novak stood at the bridge's command station, her hands folded behind her back, her eyes scanning the chaos unfolding on the holographic display. They had won. But the battle had cost them. "Captain," Lieutenant Tanaka's voice broke through the silence. "We've detected a massive signature, Zorvian reinforcements." They're already on their way. Amelia's gaze flickered toward Tanaka. How far? About 3 hours out, Captain. A full fleet. They'll be here before we can make it to the jump point. The silence that followed was thick, a shared understanding between them. The Zorvians wouldn't rest. They never did. But this time, it would be different. The Excalibur was far from finished, and humanity's resolve was unyielding. Ready the crew, Amelia ordered, turning toward her tactical officer. We're not waiting for them to reach us. Far from the Excalibur, General Veilcore stood alone in his command room aboard the Zorvian flagship. His jaw clenched tightly as he gazed at the large viewport, the stars outside offering little comfort. The humiliation he had suffered at the hands of the humans weighed heavily on him. His entire fleet had been obliterated in a matter of minutes, reduced to nothing but debris. He had underestimated Earth's might, and it had cost him dearly. General, came the voice of his second-in-command, Commander Velka, a Zorvian officer with a reputation for ruthlessness. The fleet is ready for another engagement. Our reinforcements are strong, and we have more ships than the humans can handle. Veilcore's eyes were cold, his voice a whisper of malice. This time, we won't underestimate them. We'll crush them. His hands trembled for the briefest moment, but he quickly regained his composure. He couldn't let his officers see his uncertainty. Deploy everything we have. We're going to take back what's ours. Back aboard the Excalibur, Captain Novak paced in front of her crew. The bridge hummed with activity, every officer at their post, every eye fixed on the task at hand. The atmosphere was tense, but there was no fear. Only determination. Listen up, Amelia said, her voice carrying across the room. The Zorvians are coming back. And this time, they'll be bringing everything they've got. We need to hold them off, no matter what. We are Earth's last line of defense, and we will stand our ground. Her crew nodded silently, the weight of her words settling into their bones. It was clear to them all that this was more than just a battle. This was a war, one they had to win, not just for Earth, but for every human being spread across the galaxy. We're ready, Captain, Kira Tanaka said, stepping forward. The Excalibur is equipped with the best weapons and technology we have. But we need to take them down fast. If they overwhelm us, there's no telling what they'll do next. We won't give them the chance, Amelia replied. Prepare to engage. We're going to hit them before they hit us. The Excalibur moved swiftly through space, its sleek form cutting through the stars as it headed toward the Zorvian reinforcements. The Zorvian fleet had gathered in a massive formation, hundreds of ships spread across the void. The human warship was but a speck in comparison, but Captain Novak knew that size wasn't everything. It was how you used the resources you had that mattered. Captain, Tanaka called out. We've entered firing range. Amelia nodded. Hold your fire. Let them come closer. The tension on the bridge was palpable. The Zorvians were unaware of how much humanity had changed since their first encounter. They still thought the Excalibur was just another ship in their way. They had no idea what they were walking into. Fire, Amelia ordered, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. The first salvo from the Excalibur hit the Zorvian fleet with a deafening roar, shaking the very fabric of space. The energy beams tore through the Zorvian ships, slicing them apart with brutal efficiency. Explosions erupted in the distance as the Excalibur's weapons tore into the alien ships. The battle had begun, and humanity wasn't holding back. Direct hits on their main shields, Tanaka reported, her voice tense but confident. They're taking significant damage. Our weapons are holding up. We've only just started, Amelia said, her voice cold. Target their engines. We need them immobile. The Excalibur fired again, the ship's powerful weapons delivering a devastating blow to the Zorvian fleet. One by one, the enemy ships exploded or veered off course, their engines destroyed. The Excalibur moved like a predator hunting its prey, calculating and precise. Captain, they're regrouping, Lieutenant Marcos, the ship's tactical officer, called out. The Zorvians are using their remaining ships as a shield, positioning them in front of their command ship. Not good enough, Amelia muttered, her eyes narrowing. Deploy the fighter jets. We're going to punch through their lines. Hundreds of human fighter jets launched from the Excalibur, their engines screaming as they cut through the stars, weaving between the larger ships of the Zorvian fleet. The jets were fast, agile, and deadly. They darted between enemy ships, launching precision strikes and tearing through the Zorvian defenses with lethal accuracy. Commander, Tanaka said, her fingers flying over her console. Their command ship is exposed. We have an opportunity. Take it, Amelia replied firmly. Full power to the forward cannons. Target the command ship. We end this now. The Excalibur fired once more, this time with all of its might. The blast ripped through the Zorvian command ship's defenses, shattering its shields and carving a deep scar into the heart of the vessel. The Zorvians tried to fight back, but it was too late. The Excalibur was too strong. The command ship exploded in a fiery blaze, its remains drifting into the void. Target destroyed, Marcos said, his voice filled with awe. The Zorvian command ship is no more. Amelia's eyes remained fixed on the display. Don't get complacent, she said, her voice sharp. We've won this battle, but the war is far from over. As the remnants of the Zorvian fleet scattered, the Excalibur hovered in the stillness of space, the faint glow of distant stars illuminating its dark silhouette. The crew knew they had achieved something monumental, but there was no celebration. Not yet. Captain, Kira said, her voice quiet but urgent. The Zorvian Empire won't take this lightly. They'll rebuild, and they'll come after us again. I know, Amelia replied, her voice steady. But next time, they'll think twice before underestimating humanity. She turned to her crew, her face hardening with resolve. We've shown them what we're capable of. And when they return, we'll be ready. The Excalibur's engines hummed to life once more, its course set for the unknown. The war had just begun, but humanity's first victory was undeniable. The galaxy would never be the same again. Chapter 4, The Cost of Victory. The Excalibur drifted in silence, its massive form a stark contrast against the boundless emptiness of space. Captain Amelia Novak stood at the command station, her hands resting lightly on the smooth surface, her gaze locked on the endless expanse beyond the viewport. The stars twinkled coldly, indifferent to the chaos that had unfolded just hours before. Captain, we've received a transmission from Earth, Lieutenant Tanaka said, breaking the silence. They're requesting an update on our status. Amelia sighed, her fingers brushing against the edge of the station as she processed the request. Earth. Humanity's home. They had been waiting for news of this battle, expecting the Excalibur to either return victorious or not return at all. The weight of their hopes, their future, rested heavily on her shoulders. Patch it through, Amelia said, her voice a mix of exhaustion and resolve. The image of Earth's Central Command appeared on the display, the face of General Harrison, the commanding officer of Earth's military forces, filling the screen. His expression was stern but relieved. Captain Novak, I'm glad to see you're still with us, General Harrison said, his voice steady but carrying a hint of concern. What's the status of the mission? Amelia hesitated for a moment, her mind replaying the events of the past few hours, the Zorvian fleet decimated, the command ship destroyed, the terror in the eyes of General Veilcore. They had won, but the cost was still sinking in. We've engaged the Zorvian forces and delivered a decisive blow, Amelia reported, her voice steady. Their fleet is in disarray, and their command ship has been destroyed. We've secured a temporary victory. A flicker of relief crossed General Harrison's face, but it quickly morphed into something darker. A temporary victory, he repeated. Explain. We're not out of danger yet, General, Amelia replied, her tone grim. We've shown them our strength, but this is just the beginning. The Zorvians will regroup, and when they do, we'll be facing an even larger force. They won't stop. Not until they have what they want. General Harrison nodded solemnly. Understood. But know this, Captain, you've given humanity something it hasn't had in a long time, hope. You've proven we can stand up to our enemies, that we're not a weak species. I hope it's enough, Amelia said softly, her eyes drifting back to the stars. I hope it's enough to make them think twice before coming after us again. The transmission ended, and the Excalibur fell into an eerie quiet once more. The crew was tired, their bodies worn from hours of battle, but there was no time for rest. The Zorvians would be back, and they would be angrier than ever. The sense of victory that had filled the crew earlier now felt like a fleeting memory, quickly replaced by the harsh reality of the war they were now forced to fight. Captain, Lieutenant Tanaka's voice broke through the tension. We've received new intelligence. The Zorvian fleet has begun regrouping in the outer rim of the system. They're preparing for another assault. They've called for reinforcements. Amelia clenched her jaw, a spark of anger igniting within her. How many ships are they sending this time? At least double the number we faced earlier, Tanaka replied. It's an overwhelming force. We knew this wasn't going to be easy, Amelia muttered under her breath. Prepare the crew. We'll make sure they regret ever underestimating us. Hours later, the Excalibur was on the move again, its engines powering up as it made its way toward the outer rim, where the Zorvian reinforcements had gathered. The stars outside blurred into streaks of light as the ship accelerated, heading straight into the heart of danger. The crew was prepared, their bodies tense but focused, their minds sharp. Captain, Lieutenant Marcos called out, his voice urgent. We're approaching the Zorvian fleet. They're already in position. Amelia studied the readout on her console, her mind calculating their next move. They've set up a defensive perimeter around their command ship, she observed. It's a smart strategy. But not smart enough. We've got a few tricks up our sleeves, Kira Tanaka added with a grin. We've improved the targeting systems. We'll hit them hard and fast. Let's make sure they don't get the chance to retaliate, Amelia said, her eyes narrowing in determination. Deploy the fighter jets. I want a clean strike. The Excalibur dove into the heart of the Zorvian fleet, its weapons blazing as it tore through the enemy defenses. The Zorvian ships retaliated with everything they had, their energy blasts lighting up the darkness of space. But the Excalibur was faster, more agile, its weapons stronger. The Zorvian ships faltered as the Excalibur's fighter jets moved in, delivering precision strikes to their engines and shields. Direct hit on the lead ship, Lieutenant Tanaka called out. It's going down. Amelia watched as the lead Zorvian ship exploded in a shower of fire, its remains drifting into the void. The remaining ships scattered, trying to regroup, but it was too late. The Excalibur was already moving in for the final blow. Full power to the forward cannons, Amelia commanded. Let's end this. The Excalibur fired again, its powerful energy beams tearing through the Zorvian ships with ruthless precision. One by one, the enemy vessels were destroyed, their commanders scrambling to find a way out. But the Excalibur was relentless, its firepower unstoppable. As the last Zorvian ship was obliterated, the Excalibur hovered in the silence of space. The battle was over, but Amelia couldn't shake the feeling of dread that lingered. The Zorvians had been dealt another crippling blow, but they would return. They always did. Captain, Kira said softly, her voice weary but satisfied. We did it. We've beaten them back. Amelia nodded, but her expression was somber. We've won for now. But the war is far from over. The Zorvians will keep coming. And we'll be here, ready to fight. She turned toward her crew, her gaze sweeping across the faces of the men and women who had fought beside her. They had given everything for this victory, but she knew the price of war. It was never just the battles. It was the cost of what came next, the sacrifices, the uncertainty, the never-ending cycle of conflict. But for now, the Excalibur had proven humanity's strength. They had shown the galaxy that Earth was not to be trifled with. And in that small victory, Amelia found a flicker of hope. It would have to be enough. For now. Prepare for the next phase, she said quietly. We'll rest, but only for a moment. The war has only just begun.